Okay guys, let's take a look at rational inequalities. So one thing about rational inequalities, you never want to cross multiply. When you cross multiply, you get rid of the asymptotes. Remember, your numerator, your top part gives you your zeros. Your bottom part gives you your asymptotes. You never want to cross multiply because that'll get rid of your asymptotes. Here, this guy is already set up, so it's kind of basic. It'll get us at least started in the process. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, oh look, I have potential asymptotes here at -1, x equals -1, and x equals -2, and I have a 0 here at x equals 1. So if I'm making a I'm going to just kind of make my sign chart or my number line, which I'm going to sketch things on my number line. I have my 0. I have something happening at -1. I have something happening at -2. And I have something happening out here at 1. Hopefully that makes sense for everybody. What we're going to be doing is we look at squared on the top, squared on the bottom. So we have x squared over x squared. When the numbers get super duper gigantically big, we're going to end up with just taking the coefficient in front of those, and that's going to give us our asymptote. So we should have an asymptote, horizontal asymptote at y equals 1. Just kind of there to help you out, not really anything major. But we are going to have vertical asymptotes at -1 and at -2. So that means something's going to be going on at those locations. And then something probably is going to be going on in between them. But in any event, we have values over here, values over here, values over here, etc. So if we look at what's going on as we cross the asymptote or get closer to the asymptote. So let's take a look at moving to the left of the asymptote. So if I have, say, -3, okay, if I pick -3, -3 here is going to give me -4, squared is going to be positive, so my top's going to be positive. -3 is going to be a negative, so I have a negative there. And then -3 is going to be a negative there. Negative, negative makes a positive. This should be positive. Okay? As we get closer to an asymptote. So that means that this should take on sort of this general look. Okay? It's going to be positive. Now, take a number like 0. If I pick a number like 0, 0, -1 is going to be positive. 0 plus 1 is positive and positive. So once again, we're positive here. We have a 0 at 1. So at 1, we should have we have a 0. So we have something going on right here. So let's take a look at what goes on out after 1, outside of 1. So something greater than 1, like, I don't know, 2. We have 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. Squared is 1, so that gives me a positive. 2, that's going to give me a positive, and that's going to give me a positive. So it looks like to the left and to the right we're going positive. So it should take on sort of this type shape. Okay. In between -2 and -1, let's just say something like, I don't know, -1.5. Oops, that's -0.5. How about -1.5? -1.5. That's going to give me a negative. Squared is going to give me a positive. In the denominator, that's going to give me a negative, and then that's going to give me a positive. So we have a negative, positive, so we end up with a negative here. This is where this will be negative. So if we're negative in between there, it looks as though we're going to be taking on this type of motif. Okay, so there's where my graph is, because it's going to be negative between -2 and -1. It's going to be positive from -1 to 1, and then it's going to be positive again from 1 to infinity. That's going to be 0 at 1. And then you have positive over here. So what it wants to know is, when is it going to be greater than 0? When is it going to be greater than 0? That means that it's not equal to 0. It means that it has to be greater than. So when's it greater than 0? It's greater than 0 from -infinity to -3. We use an open bracket because once again, or an open parenthesis because once again, it doesn't touch that. And then we are also greater than 0 from negative 1 to positive 1, and then from 1 to infinity. Okay? So that's where we are going to be greater than 0. I hope this was helpful. I hope this little guy helps you out in what you should do and what the graph should look like. Have a wonderful day. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Have a great one. Bye.